they used to use that intro for Mariano Rivera. I didn't pick it out, Jason did, but it's a good setup for the midterm election when you think about it, because, you know, all the Democrats are thinking they're going to win, and I think we're going to, you know, I think we're going to try to hold the House and we're going to win the Senate. And I think New York State's going to lead the way in a lot of respects, because after, I guess, Mayor, you'll see some numbers. We'll show national poll numbers, but you'll see like Mayor Mondami and Governor Hochul, they're still on a little honeymoon right now. But I got a feeling as things go on, it's gonna be a little more advantageous for our side. But do you have that video? I wanted to show a video. This will tell you what my life is like. This happened, let me just set this up. This happened, I was out, I was out working and I was at meetings, and all of a sudden, my client here.
There's nothing you can do about it. All brilliant people, but there's nothing. One example was COVID. We had an economy going at levels like nobody had ever seen my first 2.5, 3 years. And then I heard the word pandemic, not COVID. We came up with that name over a period of time. We won't get into that. But I heard the word pandemic. And I had a poll come out that was so strong just prior to that, and I was with the two best pollsters, McLaughlin, Fabrizio. George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, if they came back and ran as president and vice president, they couldn't beat you.
He said that at Davos 2 weeks ago. Very nice, good publicity, good advertising. But your phone blows up from reporters who say, "You polled for Washington and Lincoln?" To which I'm like, "No, Blakeman in New York, but he's not that old." But it's like you polled. And what I did tell him, what he was speaking about was, back in 2020 in March, we did a round of all the 17 battleground states, and myself and our fellow New Yorker Tony Fabrizio, who used to be from New York. But we were delivering a bunch of polls in the White House. We had to go to the Oval Office. And we're going into the Oval Office, and President Trump gets up from behind the desk. And this is March of 2020, and he says, it's March 11th to be exact. He says, "I think I have to shut travel down to Europe." To which I was like, that's too bad, because these polls had you winning. And he was ahead in all the polls. We were headed for a landslide. And what he was speaking about was COVID changed the whole political nature of that year. But in the meantime, all the reporters wanted to know. I did tell them in 2024 that in the primaries, the president had better numbers than Reagan, because that I remember, because I used to work for Arthur Finkelstein. And Arthur was one of Reagan's pollsters, so I got to see Reagan's numbers and Trump's numbers, and you could tell by the way we won the primary. I was like, these poll numbers that you have in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Super Tuesday states, these are all better than Reagan ever had. But somehow along the way, on the way to Davos and through rallies of 2023 and 24, it got to be better numbers than Washington and Lincoln. So just among us here in the room, as far as we're concerned, he's better numbers than Washington and Lincoln. So anyway, but with that, I'm going to show you some national numbers. And I am serious that I think what you saw, and I'm very partial to Nassau County because I've worked there for decades, going back to when I worked for Arthur Finkelstein. Right? Way to go, Danny. It's like, but we had a plan, and one of the things is, I didn't work in New Jersey, didn't work in Virginia. One of the things that we did in Nassau was we targeted Trump voters. And Bruce Blakeman is very close to the president, and they've been friends. Bruce was a 2016 delegate. They've been friends for years. And we got Trump voters to come back out in Nassau. We polled them on the issues. The organization out there likes to poll, which is good for me. But we not only got the Trump voters back out, by the way, President Trump came out to the Ryder Cup. Are there any golf fans in here? He came out NASA was hosting the Ryder Cup. Blakeman had him come to the Ryder Cup, and it turned into like a Trump rally, USA. This is an 8-point Democrat county that really matches up with the states in terms of diversity. Because not only did Bruce win, the DA won, the county controller won, the clerk won, we kept the legislature, we won every town, and these towns are huge, like Hempstead's 800,000 people, et cetera. Hempstead, North Hempstead, Oyster Bay, different villages, they won everything, top to bottom. And it's because every day on early voting, because of the issues that we identified from the polling on crime and taxes, they came out. We were beating, Republicans were outnumbering Democrats, and we were pulling Democrats, and we won every day for the 10-day early voting, and we won on election day. So unlike what happened in the rest of the country, in New York State, we could bring out Trump voters and add to it, because Bruce and his ticket, we won Hispanics, we won Jewish voters, we won independent women, we won Asian voters, and they have you have Chinese and Indian and Korean voters, in particularly North Hempstead, and we won all these groups. And we won on taxes, because when they were talking about affordability, and my favorite numbers in the post-election poll, we did one, because sometimes you poll after the election because you think you're so smart, but you take a post-election poll to find out what really worked, what didn't. Kathy Hochul in Nassau had a 61 disapproval rating, and Mondami had a 69 unfavorable, right? Because they know, a lot of them left New York City, and it's like, so, and they spent almost $2 million just in postage alone. And in September and October, they were in every one of our mail pieces. And we had ads. We didn't have a problem with affordability, because every time the Democrats opened their mouth about affordability, we said, you raised taxes. Bruce killed a $150 million tax hike and hasn't raised, and the Republicans haven't raised taxes. And crime. They ran a county legislator against Bruce, because the DA was running against a cashless bail Democrat who had worked in Queens. And cashless bail is still a very good issue. But they ran a guy against Bruce, a county legislator, who in 2011 wrote that he's a defense prosecutor, and he wrote a paper saying that, oh, they should change the laws about women who get raped, because sometimes they fantasize about getting raped. So these are the kind of Democrats we're going to get. And we had no qualms running against them, Bruce and the Republicans. And there's no reason why we can't do this statewide. But let's go through these numbers nationally. But I'm just trying to set this up, because the key in the midterm is, when Lee Zeldin, when we ran 4 years ago, we hit a wall. We got 5 million voters out in the state, which is, if you have the right mix, better than the 8 million that come out in a presidential year. But we hit a wall at some point. But President Trump, he got 42%, which helped us win the popular vote nationally, because we had these huge gains in New York. But again, you can add to that, you can build to it. But these are national numbers, and I'll just run through some things here. Yeah, good. So you can see there's President Trump. By the way, don't believe the fake polls. There's a lot of fake polls. And it's like, remember the Des Moines Register poll that came out before the 24 election? That was another night when my phone was blowing up. But Des Moines Register, Trump was going to lose Iowa. And so the next morning, it's just a Sunday morning, Susie Wiles says, you got to write a memo that the poll's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, you go through the internals on the poll, it should be plus 10 Republican. It's like plus 3. They have us losing by 6. You do the algebra, we're going to win 6 to 8 points at least. We ended up winning by 13. But they underpolled Republicans on purpose to create that story. Just recently, there was the New York Times poll. How many? I don't know if anybody goes and looks at the internals of these polls. Everybody saw the New York Times poll, and they're saying Trump's job approval is really bad, and they polled register voters, not likely voters. These polls are based on 1,000 likely voters. They had the percentage of Trump voters in that New York Times poll, 38%. We got 50. There's 12 points. They're 12 points too short. There was another poll And the Quinnipiac poll, they just do random digit dials, so it's like, but then there was the Economist YouGov poll, like 2,500 adults. They had 34% Trump voters in it, 2024 Trump voters, 46% Harris voters. In their world, she won the presidential race. But this is what's going on. When you're looking at these polls, they're running down the president on purpose so that they can sandbag Republicans to suppress our vote, so that conservatives don't come out, so that we stay home. We don't think we can win. We don't think we can hold Congress. So that's where they're getting all these midterm stuff. But in our national poll, we'll post it tomorrow. By the way, these brand new numbers, just released. We ran these on Friday. I'm going to put them up Monday. So you're getting an exclusive here. Some of the numbers were written about in Newsmax, on our blog on Newsmax. But Trump, we have 50% approve, 47% disapprove. The 36% approves both his job and his personality. They're great Americans. This is nationally. The other 14% just his personality, because they kind of like, sometimes he's, they don't appreciate his sense of humor. And then 47%, there's no hope for them. But that's how we moved up the numbers. By the way, Chuck Schumer, this is your U.S. Senator among all voters in the country. Isn't that great? He's the most, of the active Democrats, he's the one who is most disliked right now in the country. And everything, if you want to run against somebody, by the way, New York State, he's not liked either. I mean, if AOC runs against him in a primary, she's going to beat him. She's, and it's like, but he's a minus 15. And independent voters, he's 22 favorable, 47 unfavorable nationally. Hispanics, 31-40. I can't believe he's going to run again, but we'll find out 2 years from now. AOC, where's Diamant? She should be raising money nationally. They don't like her. I mean, she's 36 favorable, 39 unfavorable, and she's with independents, 34-40. I hope they nominate her for president. Gavin Newsom. Boo, right? 35 favorable, 40 unfavorable. He's very consistent. Here's your mayor. He's on a honeymoon because, by the way, most people in the country really don't know enough about this guy. And New Yorkers are about to find out. Because back in September nationally, he was 20 favorable, 31 unfavorable. And then he was in October 24 and 34. Then he gets elected. And you'll notice in December, it's 33 favorable, 30 unfavorable. And this is nationwide. And now he's 32 and 36, so he's back. The honeymoon's starting to end. He's starting to show himself. But I think there's going to be, there's people in here that pay a lot more attention to what's going on in Albany and nationally. I mean, the Democrat Socialists of America, and you cannot have enough debates with them. Jerry, you got to be attacking those guys every day. And I know you are, but it's every other day. They want to raise 3 taxes, right? They want to raise income taxes on everybody over $450,000, which is anybody with a subchapter S in New York. They'll drive those small businesses out. They want a 2% corporate tax, and then they want some other tax on New York City. So, I mean, this is, they're his people. And then we've got Tim Walz, Governor Walz. Yeah. He was in October of 24, he was 43-45. Now he's 34-39. And with the independents, he's 29 and 41. But he's not running for re-election. He got his polls back. And that's not working out for him. Ethnic groups? No, we don't have there's not a Somali subcell. African Americans, he's 36 favorable, 23 unfavorable. That's not good for a Democrat. Hispanics, he was 40 and 31. But he's a minus 12 with white people. That's why they don't like white people. So anyway, looking at the economy, this is going to be an interesting number. Because when you look at that line graph, The red line graph means that the economy is getting worse and the economy is getting better. These are national numbers. When it starts out in the blue over to the left, that's Trump's first term. Then COVID hits, and it soars up into the red that it's going to get worse, not better. Then Trump's leaving office after COVID, and it's getting better. Then Biden takes over. And economic pessimism just really, that big red line at the top, that's Biden. Now, the tough part is, when you look at this, okay, it's up to 39% better. The next slide is very important, because we asked this back in December and we asked it again in January, and again we're going to print this up tomorrow. And I wrote this with Steve Moore and Larry Kudlow and Steve Forbes. I'm like, and Steve Moore says to me, he says to me, it's a leading question. I said, that's the point. And what it is you say, now if you knew it were true that the economy is growing, inflation is being reduced, wages are rising faster than inflation, consumer spending's up, unemployment is low, interest rates are being cut, business investment is up, and the federal taxes are being cut, would you say the economy is getting better or worse, or getting better or worse? Now, I told Steve Moore, I said, there's a reason this is a leading question. I just want to tell me all those things are true, and he did. And I had the best economists of the world vet this question. And it goes from where they're telling us it's getting worse, 54 to 39. The next question you tell them this, all voters, their opinion switches. They're not getting the message. And we asked in the crosstabs, if you're in the 4 in 10 voters who pay attention to Fox News, Newsmax, other conservative outlets, you think the economy's getting better. Everybody else doesn't. The facts aren't getting through. And this is the biggest challenge we're going to have when you look at, and Brent Bozell's, his Media Research Center wrote about this question, because if we can get the facts out, which is why President Trump is doing more economic things, it's why he went to Iowa, it's why he's got to get back out on the road, because if you stay inside Washington and the news media conveys the message, people will never hear the truth. But right now, that's good. Another question. We asked him, while I may not agree with everything Donald Trump and the MAGA movement says and stands for, I think they're right about putting America and the American people first. If we talk about putting America first, all of a sudden all Americans agree with us, 63 to 32. And then, you're going to like this. It's like, okay. Favor or oppose? Simple question. Do you favor or oppose deporting migrants who have entered the country illegally? 62 to 32. That's any illegal coming in. That's 1,000 likely voters. So the majority of Americans, 2 to 1, still favor securing the border, enforcing the immigration laws. And this next question, do you favor or oppose deporting known criminal and terrorist migrants who have entered the country illegally? 87 to 10. What's going on right now is, as we all watch, I mean, there's 2 things you watched in January. You watch the weather reports because we don't believe in global warming anymore. I love to poll questions about global warming in January, especially this January. So that's, Lee Zeldin has a great job this year. No, there's no such thing. Give us Greenland, that's it. Nobody's going to want to go there. We got Greenland in New York. It's like, but 87 to 10, 67% strongly. It's like the other story after the weather was Minnesota, was Minneapolis. And what they're doing is they're demonizing, they don't treat, we know how they treat cops in New York now. I mean, if you're in New York City, you don't have qualified immunity. You get out of the car, you could get sued, they dox you. You know, I mean, our brave men and women who are in the police force are taking their lives in their hands every day because of liberal politicians in New York. But these federal law enforcement agents, if you're an immigration and customs enforcement agent, they don't treat you like police. They don't, when they tell you to stop the car, they try to run you over. And it's like so what's going on right now is the country is supporting Trump's success on the border and immigration overwhelmingly and still supports it. So these are brand new numbers. They have not shaken the goals, but they're trying to destroy the means. Because if you get rid of ICE, if you defund, and by the way, we have a question, should we defund, this was printed in Newsmax. If you defund and abolish ICE, 46 favor nationally, 48 disapprove. So they're split on ICE. The liberal media is demonizing, and by the way, in Nassau County, I don't know about your counties, different parts of the state, but Hochul, she wants to bar local police from cooperating with ICE. In states and counties and cities where they cooperate with ICE, you don't have any problems. You go and you pick up the bad guys in the jails. They're in the jails, you get a warrant. You're picking up these guys with warrants. I mean, one of the things last year, we could run ads in Nassau County saying it's the safest county in America because they cooperate with ICE and they put 2,000 bad guys who were here illegally in the jails, and ICE came and got them and take them out. So that hasn't changed, but the Democrats think they're onto something, and if we don't push back, if we don't fight back, they'll get away with it. And if you have ICE restricted, the Immigration Enforcement Police, you'll end up having de facto open borders, and then the Biden-Harris voter registration plan comes back around, where if they can bring in millions of illegal immigrants, then they can do what the New York City Council did, where they say, oh, we can let non-citizens vote. Or better yet, you want a green light license, or you have any business with the government, we automatically register you to vote unless you decline. Right? Who's a clerk in here? Any county clerks? Any town clerks? They don't give you the lists of who they are, right? So you can't take them off the rolls. Who knows? It's going to be a very interesting activity this year. So anyway, and what's scary about that is, again, this question, do you support or oppose Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's efforts to establish the state as an open border sanctuary state to defy federal law and immigration enforcement and protect criminal illegal immigrants from being deported? Even though they support deporting them 87-10, when we framed it this way, it's 36 support Walz, 51 oppose. It becomes a lot more partisan. Democrats support Walz where you support his efforts 58-27. So it's like, there's a hardcore in their party. Whatever we do, they're going to be against, and we have to push back. And this is special for New York. This will be my last slide, but for those of us who got to watch Air Maduro, they landed him in Newburgh at Stewart Airport first when they brought him in. Yeah, a lot of those pictures look familiar. Who's from Orange County, right? Some of my friends were sending me pictures. I can't tell. So it's like, but when you ask them, do you approve or disapprove of President Trump using the American military to stop the flow of deadly drugs like fentanyl from Venezuela and the United States, including the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who was indicted back in 2020 for drug dealing and trafficking? Then all voters support 58-26. By the way, you won't find CNN writing questions like this. You won't find the liberal media writing questions like that. But in the meantime, you should that's the way you should talk about it in your campaigns. I mean, it was about, the guy was under indictment. He was bringing drugs, killing Americans in. And it's like, the president went and got him. Our brave troops went and got the guy. And as far as deporting criminal illegal aliens, we should not back up. And seriously, the Democrats need to talk to us about if they want to keep people here that came here illegally, as to some way that we've got to fix the whole system. We definitely need to secure our borders. We need to protect our immigration laws, and we need to make citizenship, it's something that's been special for all of us, and we need to make sure that illegal immigrants are not canceling our votes, particularly in New York. So with